Welcome back, friends, to The Pulse. I am David Harris, Jr. Well, we are learning more about the deadly ambush attack by an ISIS-affiliated gunman in Syria over the weekend. U.S. Central Command confirming 3 Americans, including 2 U.S. service members and a civilian, were killed. With the Iowa National Guard now identifying the 2 soldiers killed in the attacks as Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tovar and Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard. An American interpreter was also killed. Officials say a lone gunman fired on Americans supporting counter-terror operations in the Syrian city of Palmyra. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says that the perpetrator of the attack was then killed by partner forces, and adding, quote, "Let it be known, if you target Americans anywhere in the world, you will spend the rest of your brief, anxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and ruthlessly kill you." Syrian officials say the gunman was a member of Syrian security forces who was slated for dismissal based on his extremist views. U.S. officials say 3 American military personnel and 2 members of Syrian security forces were also wounded in the attack. President Trump has vowed to retaliate.
I can tell you in Syria, there will be a lot of damage done to the people that did it. They got the individual person, but there'll be big damage done.
So how will the U.S. respond? Joining me now, foreign policy expert Harley Lippman and former Trump foreign policy advisor and the author of Iran, an Imperialist Republic and U.S. Policy, Walid Phares. Walid, President Trump said that the U.S. would retaliate, and we know that he isn't afraid of using our military to take out terrorists. What do you expect in terms of a response from him?
Well, the classical response is going to be that the Trump administration, the president, will order strikes on known enclaves of ISIS. But that's chapter 1. Chapter 2, which is more concern to everybody, including in our security agencies, is the fact that this individual, according to the Syrian state, who fired on our military, was a member of the secret intelligence and security agencies of the state of Syria. So they're going to be a work with the regime in Damascus to make sure that everybody is vetted, to make sure that there are no jihadists or ISIS elements inside the regime, because the regime will be meeting with our forces, like this meeting. Maybe there will be meetings with the companies or social organizations that will go and visit Syria. So we have 2 fronts. One is ISIS on the ground. The other one is the potential infiltration by ISIS inside the regime. Remember that that regime is coming from al-Nusra, which was jihadist. So we have a lot of work to be done.
Definitely a lot of work to do. Harley, there are also 900 U.S. troops in Syria now, and there are questions by U.S. lawmakers already as to why they're there, especially a country that historically has been very unfriendly to U.S. troops. Your thoughts?
Well, you're right. Syria historically has been unfriendly to U.S. troops under Assad, a bad guy who was allied with Iran and with Russia and China, and now he's living in Russia. You know, that's one of the good consequences of Israel's war in Gaza, is that Assad was overthrown, and the Trump administration is trying to get close with the new government that is pushing back against ISIS and extremist groups. But the big picture to me here is this. You're always going to have vulnerability from a lone gunman with a machine gun. You're never going to protect students, soldiers from that. Someone just has to be perched from a window, and soldiers are milling around. You're going to wound or kill a few. This will happen for hundreds of years. So, you know, we'll get riled up about that. But the big picture in this is we have serious enemies that want to kill us and destroy our way of life. Iran, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the Muslim Brotherhood. And we have to be, in the way they are at war with us, we need to be at war with them. So whether this incident happened or not, it's really a wake-up call that they are at war with us, and we better wake up or we're going to suffer a lot more than we think we will.
Yeah, we definitely better wake up, is for sure. Walid, let's talk about the tragedy that took place over the weekend in Australia at Bondi Beach. Australia's Prime Minister was among those who called for a Palestinian state. And during an interview, the Prime Minister was asked if he sees a link between that action and the deadly terror attack. He said he doesn't. Your thoughts?
Well, he doesn't. I don't know about that, but I do. I have been seeing since October 7 thousands of protests calling for globalized intifada. It's not just about Palestine or the resolution with the Israelis. It's really about a movement that eventually is calling for a caliphate. It's a threat against Israel, but also against the United States, against all Arab countries or most Arab countries. And it is also a threat that is direct against the minorities in the Middle East. Now, look at the Jewish communities now. They are encircled. They are under stress and under threat everywhere around the world. We've seen many cases here. And by the sixth day, we've seen that massacre in Sydney. I think this is unfortunately the beginning of a wider process that follows the ideology that believes that neither the United States is legitimate, nor Israel is legitimate, nor any other country that is democratic is legitimate. So we are at the beginning of a process that could take us to a confrontation, this time with global jihadists everywhere.
Yeah, and that is that's the danger, and unfortunately, I think that's the sad, stark reality of exactly where we're at. Harley, let's turn to the latest from the U.S., Ukraine, and the EU talks to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. Trump said we are closer now than ever to a peace deal, and U.S. officials claims about 90% of the issues are now resolved. So what's the missing 10% going to take to end this nearly 4-year war?
I think it's the level of security guarantees that the United States can give to Ukraine. Because at the end of the day, Ukraine is fearful that no matter what agreement they make with Russia, they're going to come back and try to break Ukraine and conquer Ukraine. So the only way that this could work for Ukraine and the United States and our friends in Europe is for Ukraine to get ironclad guarantees of security. And that means I think Trump has to go to the Senate, has to get a resolution and a treaty passed that will ensure, more than just an executive order, that the United States will come to the aid of Ukraine if Russia attacks. If Ukraine really has that solid guarantee, they're willing to make significant concessions. But I think that's what I would guess is the remaining 10%.
All right, it's going to be interesting to see. Waleed, final question. I asked my last panel this as well. When it comes to the rise in anti-extremists on the left, from Antifa to extreme jihad, from the Islam and the Muslims that have come into this country with intent, I think, to harm this nation, what is the solution for America? What are we supposed to do to try to combat this?
The whole thing started in a place that is very clear. It's called the classroom. I was a professor of political science for 28 years. I saw it happening. I saw the genesis of it. If you control the mind, or if you control the input of education, such as considering Israel as illegitimate, America as illegitimate, considering also that all the governments in the region should be, crumbled and establish instead a caliphate. That's what, ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Nusra and Hezbollah, all the way to the radicals here on our campuses believe in. What we need to do is a reform in our education. We have to go back to square one. It may take us a decade, but that's where we need to start. And the problem, at least in my view, is that we lack professors. There are 2,800 professors of Middle Eastern studies. 85% of them are pro-Hamas, pro-jihadists. So we have a long-term work to do in addition to counterterrorism.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Charlie Kirk actually wrote a book on that and shared about 90% of professors in universities and colleges are woke. They're leftist and they hate America. Harley, final thoughts to you. Got about 20 seconds for you.
Well, I think that I agree with my colleague, and we've got to prepare for what I believe will be a long conflict with radical Islam. And if we do that, we're going to be fine. If we don't do that, we're going to pay a very heavy price. You can't kick the can down the road on this.
Yeah, we cannot keep kicking the can down the road. Absolutely correct. Harley Lippman, Waleed Ferris, God bless you both. Thank you for joining the Pulse tonight.
Thank you. God bless you.
Well, a horrific attack during a Hanukkah event in Sydney, Australia. I'll talk to Congressman Randy Fine about how we can fight the rise in anti-Semitism next.